Hey, it's Josh here with Bees in the Weeds. We're going to do our final fall honey extraction. I'm going to pull these supers off the hives today. I've got about 6 hives with supers still on them. So we need to go ahead and get those pulled off so we can process that honey. I have no idea what's going to be in there, if we had a good flow or not. And then afterwards, I'm going to go ahead and put ApiGuard on these to start our mite treatments. So figured I'd take you guys along with me for a little bit of the honey harvest this fall. So here we go. Okay, so the first hive we're going to go after is this tall yellow one here. Currently have 2 supers on this one. And of course, fall harvest is usually a little more difficult as the bees are much angrier, you know, towards the end of the season. They want to protect this honey. And as soon as we pull this honey, and I'm not going to take all of it, but when we pull this honey, we'll immediately start to feed them after we do our treatment. This hive right here, I'm actually feeding while I'm treating, and I guess the potential downfalls with that is the bees won't pay attention to the ApiGuard and they go after the sugar syrup. So the treatment isn't as effective, but that hive is really lightweight, so I wanted to get some feed on there. So we'll see what each of these hives has in it, and if they've got some food stores maybe in the bottom, they could probably go a couple weeks without some food. And we'll go ahead and get the mite treatment on, because it's very end of August time frame right now, and we are definitely time to get your mite treatments on the hives. Had this sitting a while, so it's not really wanting to stay lit. Got my cheater torch. All right, I need the guard packs here. And we've got queen excluders on all our hives, so technically shouldn't have to really search for a queen or worry that she's up here. See a lot of bees up top here. That's a good sign. Oh yeah. Now what I use for the, as far as a honey extraction, this is called a Fume Board. It's something my dad and I made. It's just a 2-inch pine, some felt liner on the inside, and a piece of sheet metal on top that hopefully catches the sun here and heats up. And I just use this Honey Bandit in a spray bottle. Real stinky stuff for the bees. It honestly doesn't smell too bad for us. And what you do is you just spray the felt here. A little bit kind of goes a long way with this stuff. I'm just using small little squirts here. Make sure you get coverage all across. And then what you want to do is sit this on top. Leave the corners a little bit exposed. And the bees are already roaring. They really hate this stuff. But it allows me to clear the bees out of the super relatively quickly. And it gets about, 80–90% of the bees out. And then I use my blower here to get the rest of the bees out. They don't particularly like that. I mean, you wouldn't either, but it doesn't really hurt the bees. It just blows them out into the air. And then I got my dad here helping me, waiting. Because right now we're in robbing season. So if you leave these supers exposed for very long, you're going to set off a frenzy in this yard. So it's all about timing. You got to quickly get the bees off the supers, get it to the back of the UTV, get them covered with some sort of sheets or something, so the rest of the bees out here in the yard don't smell the honey, or they'll go absolutely nuts. And you really don't want to set off a feeding frenzy. So try to avoid that as much as you can. I generally leave this on here about anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes. Just check it periodically. But yeah, currently there are 6 hives, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hives in this apiary that have supers on, 2 here, 3 here, a super deep there, and 2 supers over there. These hives here already had everything off. They're currently getting their mite treatments, their ApiGuard. And so just trying to get this fall harvest pulled and finished so we can start treating the rest of these hives. It's really important when you're getting ready to go into the winter season, because the beekeeping calendar really starts in August. That's when the official calendar starts, because everything you do from this point going forward is going to determine whether your hives and your bees are healthy and successful coming out of the winter and going into the spring flow. Everything you do right now is of the utmost importance. So you got to feed your bees, make sure they're healthy, have plenty of food. Dead mites equals healthy bees. So you got to kill those stupid varroa mites, whatever your kill method of choice is. I've tried several methods. I'm using a combination of ApiGuard and oxalic acid vaporization this year. Last year I used Apivar. It did fine. And you really want to get that mite count down really low going into the winter time so that they don't multiply over the winter when your bees are all clustered together and just huddled together for months upon end. And a lot of the bees have definitely gone down. Give it another minute or two. This is hive number 3. So I keep these tokens on my hives just to keep track of which one, and I keep notes on each hive specifically, what I'm doing, what I'm seeing. It's always nice. Sometimes I go back and reference those notes. I know some beekeepers, like my friend Don, will keep notes handwritten on top of the top cover. It's whatever your preferred method is. There's a real cool app. I forget the name of it, B Plus or B something, that I use to record what's going on with each of the hives. It takes a little time to fill it out after each inspection and whatnot, but I find that it kind of pays dividends if I can't remember what's going on with every single hive, or what I did, or how old the queen is, etc. So it seems to be pretty helpful. All right, we're going to pull this first super off. See how many bees are in it. Hopefully not too many. Getting ready to pull this first one off, Dad. He's been on here a while, so probably got to break him. I'm sure the bees have propolised him pretty good. There we go. All right. Yeah, that's got some weight to it. Okay, that may be the first time ever I didn't see a single bee. So go ahead and get this covered up. I don't know if you can see in there the supers. It's pretty heavy. This one's got some good weight to it. Okay. Thank you, Dad. Oh, that one worked really well. So a couple more light sprays here, and we'll get this back on the hive. I'll bring you in for this one. I don't know if you can hear them roaring. But they are already diving down into that bottom deep there. They do not like this stuff. And you know, it's not cheap, but it works really well. Looking out the front entrance here, a lot of times you can see the bees come out the front entrance, but they're not actually doing that on this one, so that's good. Sometimes, you know, you got 2 supers, and if they're full of bees, you're asking for all 2 full supers of bees now to make room into a single deep. You know, this would be a time for a good argument for, you know, my friends Laura and Dawn both use slatted racks on their hives. I do not. This would be an argument in favor of that, especially someone like me that only runs single deep hive management. I'm asking, you know, a hive that was this big to now shrink down to a hive that's this big. So what does that mean? Well, I mean, there's enough room for them in there, don't get me wrong, but now the urge to swarm is going to be much higher. So something you have to keep an eye on. And if I really wanted to, I could always come back and just put an empty super on for the winter time. I could put a second deep on if I really wanted to. I don't want to. The fact remains, I just have to deal with swarming more than the average person because of this. I just think that the pros versus the cons, so far, the pros outweigh the cons on this single hive management. I just love only having 10 frames of brood to go to, easy to find my queens. It's just much easier to manage than a double deep or a triple deep. Is just, you know, these massive hives. And I mean, you know, I very well could pull 40-50 pounds of honey off this hive, and to me, that's plenty for one hive. I mean, I'm not trying to get 120 pounds of hive here, you know. I mean, if I do, great, but it's not the goal. The goal is to raise and maintain healthy bees. While I'm waiting, I'm going to go ahead and pull this. I've got this nail in the back of this hive. I try to keep that clear. That's for the oxalic acid treatments with that Laura Bees vaporizer gun. I have a video, if you all haven't seen that yet, on how I use that in the back of the hive. Really impressed with that. Really does a great job just proliferating the oxalic acid vapors throughout the entire hive. I used to use one of those irons that you stick in the front entrance, and I find that really pisses the bees off. They don't really like it when you stick something in the front entrance, especially something that's extremely hot. I found that I had to come out here completely suited up, you know, smoke them just to get them to calm down, just to be able to do the oxalic acid treatments, and it was a pain in the ass. This way I can come in behind the hive. All I have to do is throw a towel on the front entrance there to kind of seal it up, put the IPM board in the bottom, and I can just hit them real quick from the back. They don't really get too mad, too angry over it, and I don't even hardly have to be suited up to do it. It's just a much cleaner, nicer way to do it. Now I imagine I'm going to have some bees still on this, even with the honey banded on top here, just because I've got the queen excluder here, and you know, bees will move through a queen excluder, but they don't really like to. So some of them are still trying to probably make their way through there. Now once I get this super off, I'm going to remove the queen excluder, and then I'll go ahead and put the inner cover on, and get to feeding them, or I'm sorry, get with the treatments. And then I'm going to come back later and put all those Vivaldi boards on, and I'll do a separate video on Vivaldi boards. They're a really slick invention for overwintering your bees, and I'll talk more about that in a separate video for you all. Thought about putting the Vivaldi boards on now. I mean, technically I could still treat with them on there, but you know, you put the spacers. I still have to come back and put the spacers, because you really want to put this ApiGuard right on top of the frames, right over the brood nest. So I'm not really saving myself any time by putting the Vivaldi board on now, because I'd have to come back and remove the spacers anyway. And my dad and I made a couple spacers. I'll show you those here in a minute. All right, Dad, I think we're about ready on this one. Smoker's not one to stay lit. Problem with this one, I got in a little bit of hurry, and I didn't put enough little sticks and kindling down in there to stay lit. That's what happens. Fortunately, I live in the woods, and there's no shortage of kindling around. All these bees here are flying off the inner cover. They've been just chilling there a little bit. All right, let's pull these off. See if this one has any weight to it. A little bit. Not as much as the other one, to be honest with you. Yeah, not as much weight as the last one, but I'd say maybe 7 pounds or so. Okay. So now let's go ahead and get this queen excluder off. We got all our bees down in the lower deep here now. Pull off our queen excluder. It's looking good. I'm just going to do what's called a heft test on this hive. I want to see how much food they have in here, or hardly. Yeah, they're light. So we're definitely going to have to feed these girls after our ApiGuard treatment. This is just a thymol based, sort of crystallized, I don't know, almost like a paste. It's almost like a consistency of like a gel toothpaste. And with the temperatures lower now, I made the mistake last time of putting too much in there. The temperature is lower now during the day. You can put the full treatment on this hive for 2 weeks. Watch out, girls. Hey, Dad, can you, well, I'll get one of those spacers. I need one of those spacers. And the way this stuff works is that it's, again, it's got thymol in it. The bees will immediately recognize it as foreign. Thank you. And they will start to carry it out. And that's how it spreads throughout the colony. Actually, I'm going to take this off a minute because I want to shake the bees that are on the inner cover back in the hive. There's still some left here. Come on, girls, back in. There you go. Put that back on. You couldn't ask for calmer bees. I mean, holy cow. And I really enjoy that in my apiary. This hive right here is a little too pissy for my liking. I'm going to keep an eye on them. Not that I'll necessarily cull them or anything, but I may end up pinching that queen. She's brand new. If she's in, I saw eggs in there. I tried to put the courthouse queen in here, but she didn't make it. Who knows what happened to her? So they raised their own queen. And her offspring's a little pissy for my liking. Whenever I get in there, they pop me and bounce me, and I don't really enjoy that. Now, again, this time of year, because they're not really looking to draw wax, this spacing in here I don't really have to worry about within that spacer. They're not going to all of a sudden build a bunch of brace comb in there this time of year. You do this in the springtime, and absolutely you're asking for it. So for 2 weeks that I'm going to have this ApiGuard treatment on in there, it's perfectly fine that there's just the one spacer. That's what I've done with this one as well. And that's it. One down and what, 5 more to go. Not too bad. All right, that's all for that one.